to the Dawgs Podcast with your hosts, Blake Reneker, Justin Charles, and Josh All.
Hey, what's up, Browns fans? Welcome back to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Josh All Alone, your host today on this Father's Day weekend. Everybody else is busy. They got stuff going on, so you get to listen to just me, myself, and I ramble at you guys today. But before I dive into anything, I just want to wish everybody out there happy Father's Day to all of you dads out there who are raising kids to be Browns fans. Whew, I'll tell you what, that is not a path for the faint of heart. And you guys are going to have to usher them along into this long, history of sadness, unfortunately for us, because we didn't get to live the great years prior to the when the team left and went to Baltimore, and then when we came back as the expansion team in '99 is really all that we, people my age, we get to understand and know about this team, and it has not been great, to say the least, since then. So happy Father's Day to you guys. You guys are taking up the toughest task of them all, and we're here for you guys. So let me just say, before I dive into anything else here, I want to talk about specifically the quarterback battle today. And if you guys are getting tired of hearing about the quarterback battle, or you're getting tired of talking about Shedeur and Flacco and all these guys, I don't know what to tell you. We got 5 weeks until training camp, and all there's going to be to do is speculate about how this whole thing is going to play out, because at the end of the day, the quarterback position is what matters the most for any team. And especially the Browns, since it's not defined. We have no idea how this is going to go, but we do have some clues as to what they're thinking. So we can talk about that here. We're going to be trying to line up some guests, try to get some firsthand experience from people that were at minicamp, at OTAs here over the 5-week break, the summer break, while the team is away before they come back late July for training camp. So we'll have some guests come on. We'll be talking a whole bunch of different things. So don't go anywhere. The offseason never stops at the Dawgs Podcast. We will have episodes for you guys every week like normal. Tomorrow night, at least currently the plan tomorrow night, we're going to do a YouTube live from the studio. And the plan is to do an extensive listener mailbag segment on that show. So if you've got questions, you've got some takes you want on the show, head to not join the Dawgs. That's in a second. Head to www.thedawgspodcast.com. Go to leave voicemail in the drop-down menu. There's also an option you can just, send us a message written if you don't want to actually record your voice and send it in. Either way, get us your questions, your takes for the upcoming Browns season, and we will answer them on the show tomorrow. We've already got a voicemail and a question to go through, and we would love to get more. Obviously, we'll be taking questions from the live chat tomorrow and all that stuff as well. So make sure you tune in to that episode. And if you guys want to play fantasy football with us this year, the leagues are filling up, people are coming in, and we are getting things ready to roll for our redraft drafts in late August. And that's at jointhedogs.com. There we go. Head over there, join the Patreon. It's just $5 a month. The only stipulation for fantasy, you just have to be a Patreon member throughout the duration of the season, the fantasy football season. No big deal. It helps support the show financially. We really appreciate it. You get access to the private Discord to get into the Dog Pack community over there. Talk with everybody. There's 24/7 conversations going on. Plus, that's where all the smack talk for fantasy goes down as well. So we have a channel in there for each of our fantasy leagues. So you can join that specifically to talk to your league mates. It's just a ton of fun. We play on Sleeper. I know people ask about what app we use, what platform. So it's Sleeper that we play on. So get in there. I won 2 leagues last year. Blake won a league. Justin was a 2-time champ prior to last year. If you want to come in here and you think you can take down the Dawgs in fantasy football, head to jointhedogs.com and register now. All right, too much preamble. Let's dive into the meat and potatoes of this sucker. Article on Cleveland.com, and I'm going to be going through a lot of basically Cleveland.com stuff here today. And they were discussing how both the Browns' rookie quarterbacks are being positioned, in their opinion, to start games this upcoming season, but how each quarterback is on a completely different developmental path for the summer here. So they said Shedeur Sanders is the one being, quote, carefully nurtured in a controlled environment, and Dillon Gabriel is being, quote, thrown directly into the fire against the team's best defenders. Dan Labby from the Orange and Brown Talk podcast said, The Browns have handled things with Shedeur throughout the spring. This was his quote. He said, "I think the key takeaway for me is the Browns set him up this spring to be successful. Whether it was who he was going against, that they put him in a position to complete some passes, feel really good about himself, take this time in the meeting room, sit with Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett and Deshaun Watson and Dillon Gabriel and really learn what's going on in this league. They've really set him up to have a successful spring, and I think he took advantage of it." Let's pause right there. Let's just talk about that because I know there's been a lot of animosity, and I'm going to talk a lot to you guys, you Shedeur fans out there who are only watching this for that. That's fine. We love everybody here in Browns Nation. You guys are here to support one of our players, obviously. It's Shedeur Sanders, and that's your guy, and hopefully he's the Browns guy too. We love to have you, even if we don't always agree on everything. That's fine. The back and forth is what it's all about. But the separation of reps, and we're going to talk about all this kind of stuff throughout these article pieces as well, but the separation of reps is what is super interesting for the quarterback. So you've got Dillon Gabriel taking reps with the first team already with Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett. And a lot of times from the reports at OTAs and minicamp, you got Shedeur Sanders on a separate field working by himself. And some people look at that as, well, he's clearly the odd man out. He's the fourth-string quarterback. He's the guy they don't believe in, all that kind of stuff. What Dan is saying here is kind of what is how I look at it as well. They're bringing him along more slowly because if you look at the grand picture of things here for the football season, OTAs and minicamp is not necessarily about preparing specifically for the upcoming season for a specific game or specific team. That's going to be training camp. Training camp is gearing up to get ready for the season. And Kevin Stefanski has said this multiple times in press conferences over the last month. This offseason program, rookie minicamp, OTAs, mandatory minicamp, this is the installation phase. They are getting all the guys incorporated into the new system, this new offensive system. For guys like Joel Bitonio and Wyatt Teller and Joe Flacco, they don't need reps necessarily right now in May and June to get comfortable with this offensive system. They've done it before. They've done it for years. They are so familiar with this stuff. It's old news to them. They got it. They can come in here. It's like riding a bike. But then you got your younger guys, Dillon Gabriel, Shedeur Sanders. You've got your running backs. You got these younger pieces on the offensive side of the ball. And they are not familiar with this. So right now is where you're really trying to get everybody up to the same page because you want a level playing field for training camp if you're really going to evaluate who should be starting and who should be the backup, specifically at the quarterback position, but any of these positions. And the only way to evaluate that stuff during training camp is to make sure that you use this time in the off season to get everybody on the same page. So I feel like, well, here, let me just back up real quick. Let's talk about this other article before I go into any more of that stuff. There's another article, again, Cleveland.com, and this one was titled, actually, let me back up even further because after Lavi was talking about that, he asked a question, which I think everybody is probably asking. He said, why not take the slow developmental approach with both the rookies? Why only do it with Shedeur? What would Dillon Gabriel's spring here have looked like if they had given him an opportunity to get comfortable with the transition to the NFL, the scheme, and all that stuff, kind of move along at a slower pace instead of just throwing him immediately into the fire against the first team right out of the gate? So and that's where we transition over to this article that says why Dillon Gabriel is getting first team reps while Shedeur Sanders waits his turn. So they talk about Gabriel working with Flacco, Pickett, first teams, and Shedeur, like I said, often works with himself on a different field with the second and third string guys. Mary Kay Cabot from Cleveland.com in this article, she said, they are using mostly Dillon and Kenny Pickett to try to figure out what works in this offense and what doesn't. It's a new scheme. They have to throw some things out. They have to put some things in, and they're not putting all of that on Shedeur's plate as the fourth team quarterback. They're trying to get Kenny and Dillon possibly ready to play, maybe to be the starter and the backup possibly. So they talked about Pickett and Gabriel serving as the testing ground for Tommy Rees's offense, which I think is kind of silly. I mean, we'll see how things are transpiring during training camp, but I'm pretty sure we were all on the same page here that this is Kevin Stefanski's offense with some Tommy Rees influence and wrinkles thrown in on certain areas and concepts of the offense. I don't understand where they're getting this whole, it's a whole new scheme thing from. I don't feel like it is. You hear the veteran players talk. You hear Bitonio talk about the scheme this year and everything. He's basically, he said like getting back to basics, getting back to what we do the best. Like this is not a brand new scheme. So some of this stuff, I'm not sure where they're getting it from. I wish they would expand a little more on how this is like a whole new scheme for guys to learn, but whatever. We'll figure all that out in the coming months. But I'll read these next 3 paragraphs from that article just straight up because I think they're really interesting. So they said, what makes this particularly fascinating is that Sanders has consistently delivered some of the most impressive throws in the practices that were open to the media. As Labby noted, even though every practice we see maybe 2 or 3 throws from Shedeur that are like, hey, that was a good throw. That's the type of throw you saw at Colorado that made you think maybe this guy could be a first-round pick or a second-round pick. Yet despite these flashes, the Browns remained committed to their developmental timeline. There's obviously something there that's causing them to say, no, we still want to pump the brakes on this and slow play this with Shedeur, but we're going to go full steam ahead with Dillon Gabriel at this point. And that was Labby. The discrepancy between eye-catching plays and actual practice reps has created a sort of disconnect for the observers. The eyeball test might suggest Shedeur has higher upside, but as Browns beat reporter Ashley Bastock pointed out, the reps don't lie. Where these guys are taking reps right now, I think it tells us a lot whether they want it to or not. So, during the pre-draft process, Shedeur Sanders was touted more as like, one of the big pluses in his column was most pro-ready quarterback in this class, right? You guys remember that he came in, that's what people said about him most often, but it really seems like the Browns believe that Dillon Gabriel is the one who's more pro-ready, and Shedeur is the one who just needs a little more time to acclimate to the NFL landscape. Now, before you guys freak out about what I just said, and yes, again, Shedeur fans, talking mostly to you, let's think about that concept for just a second. The Browns have more insider information into Shedeur's readiness than probably any other team in the NFL. You got former Browns head coach Pat Shurmur, who was the OC at Colorado for Shedeur, and then you got Bill Musgrave, Deion Sanders, Shedeur's father. His old teammate and longtime friend is the Browns quarterback coach. So we have no idea what conversations have been had behind closed doors, but Shurmur and Musgrave, maybe they both have had some influence on the way the Browns are bringing Shedeur along more slowly than Dillon Gabriel. Who knows? Maybe they cautioned that, hey, Shedeur needs a little more work moving to the under center play action game. Like that might be a little more of a transition for him than you might think. And then, while Gabriel is splitting those first team reps with not one, but 2 veterans over there on the one field, Shedeur is on a separate field altogether, getting 100% of all those reps to work on those things. So that way, whenever we get to training camp, like I said earlier, level playing field. And let's not act, I can hear it right now. Yeah, but he's taking reps against 3rd and 4th string guys. Let's not act like 3rd string guys in the NFL are just scrubs compared to college players. Compared to the competition in college that Shedeur Sanders faced, every single guy on the defense at OTAs and minicamp is better, or is at least as good, if not better, than what Shedeur ever faced in college. And it's the entire defense. Whereas in college, Shedeur might have faced a defense that had, 1, 2, maybe 3 guys that were NFL caliber players. Now he's going against a defense that is comprised completely of guys who have at least made it to an NFL training camp. So these are still good players in terms of the competition level he has faced in the past. Now, this episode is sponsored by Omaha Steaks. Browns fans, summer cookouts are great, but the ultimate summer cookout is that 4th of July cookout. And right now, during the 4th of July sale, you can get 50% off site-wide at omahasteaks.com. Plus, our listeners get an extra $45 off with promo code BARK, B-A-R-K, at checkout. If you're making burgers for 4th of July, make sure everybody at your 4th of July party gets the steak burgers. They've got like filet mignon burgers and ribeye and all kind of different steak burgers that are just so much better than a standard hamburger. Get the Omaha Steak Burgers for 4th of July, and it's the perfect time to stock up and celebrate with the exceptional handcrafted flavor and convenience of Omaha Steaks. So get fired up for the 4th with Omaha Steaks. Visit omahasteaks.com for 50% off site-wide during their 4th of July sale. And for an extra $45 off, use promo code BARK, B-A-R-K, at checkout. That's 50% off at omahasteaks.com and an extra $45 off with promo code BARK at checkout. See site for details.
Since 1989, Mount Hope Fence has set the standard in outdoor living. From decks and railings to fences and patios, we've got you covered. Our lineup features top brands like TimberTech, AlumaGuard, Preferred Railing, and Unilock, along with our own premium Duralux vinyl products. For over 30 years, we've partnered with contractors ensuring reliable job site delivery. Discover quality and excellence in all things outdoors with Mount Hope Fence.
All right, so then I'm going to dive back over to the article here. I got multiple screens up and stuff, so that's why I'm looking off here. But part of the explanation, this is from the article, may lie in the overall readiness of each player to handle the full offensive system. Sanders is working with a lighter mental and physical workload, which naturally leads to some cleaner execution, talking about his higher completion percentage on the stat tracker and all that stuff, while Gabriel and Pickett are being tasked with more complex responsibilities. Mary Kay Cabot said, when Shedeur is ready for more, he'll get more, but I think it's very significant right now that they're throwing first-teamers at Dillon. Dillon is playing with the first-team offense against the first-team defense. I mean, those are choice, quality reps that he is getting. And then they go on to say the strategy implications seem clear. The Browns are positioning Gabriel to potentially serve as the backup quarterback behind a veteran starter, likely Joe Flacco or Kenny Pickett. Sanders, meanwhile, is on a longer developmental timeline. Okay. So I know that there's some stuff in there that's going to make people, oh man, Mary Kay Cabot, she just hates Shedeur Sanders. Oh, does she hate Shedeur Sanders? First of all, I gotta defend Mary Kay a little bit on all that stuff because I see it in the comments. I see it all over social media. Oh, she hates Shedeur. She's got an agenda, blah, blah, blah. Before you guys, and I'm again talking to the Shedeur fans, y'all welcome here. I keep saying that, but you got to remember, before you guys got here, it was pre-draft season, and we were all speculating on who the Browns were going to take number 2 overall. We advocated for Shedeur pretty heavily, at least in the beginning times of the process. Mary Kay Cabot was one of the Browns reporters advocating heavily for the Browns to take Shedeur Sanders at 2 before it kind of became apparent that the Browns weren't going to do that. But originally, she was definitely in on it. So here's another article that just came out yesterday. I mean, it says, what changed for Shedeur Sanders over the past 2 weeks and his status in the Browns QB competition? This is strictly by Mary Kay. She says, if Shedeur Sanders continues to progress in training camp like he has over the past 2 weeks, he will narrow the gap on the other 3 Browns quarterbacks in the competition. And I think this is what the Browns may have seen or may have thought they saw, whether you agree with it or not, whatever, doesn't matter. This is the way it's playing out. They came into this. And again, I will go back and I will cite some of the videos that came out from rookie minicamp, the first time these 2 quarterbacks got on the field. Dillon Gabriel looked sharper than Shedeur Sanders, from what I could tell, from what I saw. It didn't mean that Shedeur didn't look good. It just meant that Dillon looked a little more refined in some of his passes and his timing, his anticipation, things like that. The throws looked better. We talked about some of the wobbly passes from Shedeur in the rookie minicamp. Okay, fine. They came back in OTAs, and she talks about this. And we heard from multiple sources as well. Shedeur's mechanics look different already. I mean, it was a week or two between rookie minicamp and OTAs. And it was evident that Shedeur had gone on his own and worked on some things. Came out in OTAs, and all of a sudden, all the beat reporters were saying he's clearly the better quarterback. Whereas in rookie minicamp, it wasn't so clear. There were some saying he was, some saying he wasn't. Man, once we got to OTAs, there really wasn't a mixed bag anymore. It was now Shedeur looks like the better guy. And then minicamp was Shedeur looks like probably the best quarterback on the field. And we'll get to who might have said that here in a second, but it's this progression, this development, this dedication to his craft that I love to see with Shedeur, where when he first got here, yeah, it was not refined. No college quarterback is, but it's getting more refined quickly. And that's what this article is all about, how the progression over the past 2 weeks, like she said, what changed? If he continues to progress like he did over training camp, over OTAs and minicamp, by the time we get to training camp, this could be a completely different story. The way this guy is developing is impressing people, especially somebody like Mary Kay here who's writing about it. And, it impressed us as well because we've got 5 weeks between now and the start of training camp. Who's to say that this kid does not work his ass off over these 5 weeks to refine everything. Like I guarantee he's going to go back. He's going to watch the film. He's going to watch the tape from these sessions, from these practices that they just had. He's going to look at his weaknesses, the areas he's deficient, and he's going to fix them. If this guy works his tail off for the next 5 weeks, which I have no reason to believe he won't, he's going to come into training camp and he could blow the doors off this entire competition, unlike anything we're even anticipating. So she goes on here, and her article from yesterday says, after a bit of a slow start in spring practices, which is what I talked about, Sanders has come on strong over the past 2 weeks with plenty of completions, touchdown passes, and a good grasp of the scheme. Granted, he's still the fourth team quarterback and has a long way to go, but he's made significant strides during recent organized team activities and the mandatory minicamp, remaining very alive in the competition. So she says he's still a long shot to start on opening day. And she also talks in here about how Dillon Gabriel is as well. But she does say that, the job remains wide open. She thinks Pickett and Flacco have an edge just by virtue of their experience as the veterans. We still personally believe on this show, Joe Flacco is the week one starter. Even if Shedeur comes out in training camp and is like, wow, this guy could be the starter week one, just let Joe start the season. For all you Shedeur fans, again, you do not understand the pain that has been Browns fandom for decades. The pain that has been the Browns quarterback situation for decades. We do not need to shove this kid into the starting lineup right away. There's no need for it. Let Joe Flacco start the season. Get us off to whatever start he gets us off to. Good, bad, somewhere in between. Whatever. There, like I said last episode, there will be a natural progression from Joe Flacco to the next guy at some point, and it will be within the first half of the season. I guarantee it. So let's just start out with the veteran, get Shedeur up to speed with the week-to-week, the schedule of the NFL season, the preparation, all that stuff, and then we'll let him start a few weeks into the season. The kind of first part of this episode was talking about how maybe Dillon Gabriel is ahead of Shedeur Sanders. He's obviously ahead of him on the perceived depth chart and the way that he's taking first team reps and all that kind of stuff. But in this article now, Mary Kay's talking about the pros and cons. I shouldn't even say pros and cons. The strengths and weaknesses so far that she has seen from Shedeur at practice. She said in the case of Shedeur, he excelled in spring practices from the snap until the end of the play. So as soon as the ball was snapped to the end of the play, that is where Shedeur's strengths are residing right now. He makes good reads, releases the ball quickly, and delivers it with his trademark accuracy, she says. Now, at times, she said he looked smoother and more productive post-snap than Pickett and Gabriel, but those two were working on more difficult concepts and helping the coaching staff work out the kinks of the offense. So then she said, what's more, Pickett and Gabriel worked primarily with and against first teamers. Sanders worked almost exclusively with and against backups, but his poise and excellent arm talent were undeniable over the 3-day camp. So then she kind of goes in. So there were the strengths was from snap to throw, snap to the end of the play. The pre-snap process, she says, is where he needs to continue to develop and work. She said that he needs the most improvement in the pre-snap process, including things like calling plays in the huddle, signaling motion, sliding offensive line protections, and changing plays. Also terminology. That's going to be a big thing. She said it's going to be tough for both rookies to master over the next couple of months. And then the game only is going to speed up even faster when you've got Myles Garrett, Mason Graham, Alex Wright, Isaiah McGuire, those guys coming at you from the defensive side of the ball. To me, this shouldn't be surprising, but I know some people out there think that this guy is perfect and there's nothing he needs to work on. He would be the first one to tell you you're wrong. And he does have things he needs to work on. He talks about it in every press conference, how he's got to go back. He knows the things he's got to work on. He's going to fix them. He talks about it. And I think this pre-snap process stuff is so typical for rookie quarterbacks. This is nothing crazy. Okay, they're coming from college, and I'm talking most of these rookies that come in the NFL at the quarterback position. They're coming from college where they're running primarily out of the shotgun. A lot of them run nothing but hurry-up offenses. They're getting calls in from the sideline. They're signaling calls out to the receivers. They're telling the line what the play is, and they go. Boom. There is no huddle. There's none of that stuff. So getting more practice on getting in the huddle, calling plays from the huddle, signaling your motion, sliding the offensive line protections, changing plays based on what you see from the defense. And then the the thing we've talked about a lot, getting under center and running play action where you turn your back to the defense, take your eyes off the entire defense for probably the first time really in your quarterback career. This is all stuff that these guys, it takes time to adjust. And that's what the Browns, I believe, are trying to do with him. They're trying to give him that time to adjust. So she says that another thing that Sanders has to work on is his pocket awareness. He must avoid the numerous sacks that he took at Colorado. And here again, she said, but Shedeur is aware of that issue and he's attacking it with gusto, she says. In minicamp, he drifted less and was more decisive in his limited 11-on-11s than in his more numerous 7-on-7s. That's something that we noticed on some of the video clips. Like I brought this up during rookie minicamp. There was a clip where there was some pressure coming, and what the first thing Shedeur did was fade. Drift back. He drifted back in the pocket. It wasn't a ton, but it was enough. That was his first instinct, was to drift back, and then he threw that. That was one of the clips where he threw a big duck wobbly pass out there. And I was like, wow, those are some of the issues that I saw on film from college. Fast forward ahead to OTAs and minicamp, I never saw a clip where he did that. I saw clips where when the pressure came, he found a step-up window in the pocket, and he stepped up and made a play, whether he, took off and ran or made a throw. I didn't see any drifting back under pressure. It was stepping up in the pocket. That's what I like to see. I like to see the weaknesses that we all know you have and you have get taken care of. And the way that he's taking care of those things so quickly is very encouraging for what I hope to see whenever training camp opens in late July. This episode is sponsored by Southern New Hampshire University. Browns fans, I can't tell you guys how many people I've known over the years who have missed out on job opportunities simply because they don't have the right degree or even have a degree at all. I mean, these are people who otherwise would have been perfect for the position they wanted, but they got turned away simply because of educational requirements. If you've ever felt stuck in a job you didn't enjoy, or you felt unqualified or unable to advance your career due to your lack of education or experience, heck, maybe you even have a degree, but now you feel like you chose the wrong major, Southern New Hampshire University could be the answer for you. Go to snhu.edu/bark, B-A-R-K, to learn how you can get started today. SNHU has programs in psychology, cybersecurity, computer science, sports management, game development, data analytics, and finance. SNHU is one of the largest online accredited universities in the United States, and their programs are radically affordable. Their online tuition rates are some of the lowest in the nation. And you might even be eligible for financial aid or have prior college credits that could fast track your degree at SNHU. And because networking is everything, your courses are taught by faculty with real world experience, so you'll have opportunities to connect with people inside the industry. And then when you graduate, SNHU will still be there to help you as you begin your job search. So if you're ready for something new, head over to snhu.edu/bark and learn how you can get started working toward your new career today. Okay, so to kind of compare here with Gabriel from the same article, Mary Kay she said, Gabriel, with his computer-like processing speed and his experience in multiple vastly different offensive systems, currently has a slight edge in the pre-snap arena, but Sanders can close the gap if he continues to progress at his current clip. It's what I've been talking about most of this episode. At his current clip, the rate at which he is progressing is like, hold on to your boots, everybody. I think we might have something here. I really, really do. She says this is Shedeur now, with his high football acumen and tireless work ethic. That's one thing that has been unanimously stated across the board by coaches, beat reporters, teammates. The work ethic is undeniable for Shedeur. She says he can show up for training camp leaps and bounds ahead of where he left off in minicamp, and which is exactly what I've been saying this whole time. So, the likelihood of Shedeur Sanders coming through training camp at this moment in time, coming through training camp and coming out as the week 1 starter, I wouldn't put the odds very high. Again, could he come out as the QB2 and the first guy they're going to turn to whenever Joe Flacco or whoever starts the season fades out or whatever? I would put the odds a little higher at that. We'll see. The Browns don't always do things that make the most sense, and their evaluation of talent at the quarterback position has been a bit questionable, to say the least. But we'll see. We'll see what they decide to do. And again, we can only speculate from here on to training camp, but everything that Shedeur has shown from rookie minicamp to OTAs and minicamp has been fast progression. He is developing quickly. He seems to really be able to learn at a high rate, and it's very encouraging. I mean, to anybody out there who might still be saying, "Oh, you guys are Shedeur haters," or I don't know how you could say that. I just pre-ordered my Shedeur jersey. Like I'm bought in, I'm ready to go. But I still need to make sure I caution myself, not to be crowning anybody, including him, as the QB1 before they've actually gone out there and earned it. And I guess the only thing that I don't know if worried is the right word, but I'll just say the only thing I'm a little concerned about is, will he actually get a fair opportunity to earn it during training camp? Which goes back to why I think somebody in this quarterback room has got to go over the next 5 weeks. They've got to move somebody before training camp starts. Otherwise, I would say no. I don't think he will, because they're going to be trying to get ready for the season. Obviously, you got to think it's between Flacco and Pickett for the kind of the lead job. And then if they're keeping all these guys, well, one of those guys is going to fail that competition. And then aren't they just the default QB2? They took Dillon Gabriel in the 3rd round. They're giving him ample opportunities already against first teamers. If they keep all 4 of these guys, now my expectations are going to go down a lot for Shedeur. But again, hopefully we see them move. I'm still on the train of move Pickett, because I'm just not a Pickett guy. I'm not. He could surprise, but I'm just not. Now, as far as opportunity goes, according to Mary Kay here in this article, she does say the good thing for both of the rookies is that they're both going to get plenty of playing time in the preseason, because we're going to have joint practices with the Panthers and the Eagles. So those will be really good opportunities for those guys to get reps against other teams, other competition during those joint practices, and then also in the preseason games. I mean, we'll probably see, depending on how training camp shakes out and the depth chart and the order and all that kind of stuff, but you'll probably see games where Dillon Gabriel gets the first half, Shedeur Sanders gets the entire second half. And then maybe the next preseason game, they switch and Shedeur gets the first half and Gabriel gets the second half. You could easily see those kind of things happening. But one other thing to note is, based on what I've been reading, and some videos that have been shared and things like that, it sure sounds like the Browns players, and most notably the veteran players, want Shedeur to be the guy. There's no denying it. I don't know if you guys saw the clip. I don't think I can actually play the clip on here for copyright or whatever BS, but Chad Ochocinco was on his podcast talking with Shannon Sharp. And if you guys want to see the video, head over to our Twitter. But he said he shared what he has been hearing from Browns players. He said he's talked to some players on the team, and this is what they've said about Shedeur. And he accidentally slipped a name out, and I'll just read you his quote. He said, "I talked to Denzel Ward. Damn, I shouldn't say his name. But anyway, I talked to some people, and Shedeur looked different. There's a difference when that young bull is out there spinning that ball. You hear me?" That was his quote. He explained that players on the field in Berea say Shedeur has stood out, whether he's going with the second team, third team, what have you. And he said he looks different from the rest of the competition. That's what I heard. So there you go. You got, obviously, Denzel Ward has made a comment about Shedeur just looks different. Greg Newsome has spoken very highly of Shedeur. You see him out there pounding around with guys like David Njoku and Jerry Jeudy, and it's like, I think that the guys are really gravitating toward him. And then you've got guys like Jason Lloyd from The Athletic. He said that Kenny Pickett's going to start the first game. I'll be shocked if he doesn't. So I'm telling you guys, this quarterback competition is all over the freaking place. It really is. I'm just not bought into Kenny Pickett. I don't know, man. If you guys see the upside with Kenny Pickett, drop in the comments. I know Blake's higher on Kenny Pickett for sure than me, and I don't think Justin's very high either, but let me know what you guys think. It's a good conversation to have, because again, if the Browns roll with all 4 of these guys into training camp, Pickett's obviously going to be among the top guys really vying for that starting spot. But kind of going back to, who are these guys playing with or, taking reps with and all that kind of stuff. You see a lot of people say, oh, Shedeur hasn't taken any reps with the first team guys. I've seen plenty of video clips and things where he's thrown the ball to Diontae Johnson. If Diontae Johnson makes the roster, he will 100% be a starter. He's going to be a first team guy. He will be our slot receiver. That's what he is. He's a great receiver. He just needs to get his head on straight. But if he's got his head on straight, he's very good. So it's not like he's only throwing to Luke Floria and Keyshawn Johnson and Caden Davis. I mean, he's out there throwing to Diontae Johnson. And another thing that I've talked about previously, I believe, but if not, then I'll just reiterate here. When we talk about, Dillon Gabriel's taking reps with the first team. What first team? Jerry Jeudy, that's it. Cedric Tillman missed all but the very last practice of minicamp. So he missed 2 days of minicamp and I think all of the second week of OTAs and maybe part of the first week. I can't remember, but he missed a lot of it. And David Bell's not out there playing because he's still recovering from his hip surgery. And Diontae Johnson wasn't even at OTAs either. So during OTAs, and Dillon Gabriel's throwing the first team. That was Jerry Jeudy, and then he's also throwing to Keyshawn Johnson and Caden Davis because there's nobody freaking else out there. Jamari Thrash. That's it. So there really is no first team receiving core to speak of, at least not during this offseason program. So I think the playing field's a little more level from the offensive side of the ball than what you might think. And then on defense, like I said, either way, these guys are all getting good reps, and the key thing is, if you think Shedeur's a guy, whether I'm talking to the Browns or I'm just talking to you guys as fans or whatever, if you think he could be the guy, the last thing you want to do is say, all right, get out here against Myles Garrett and go. And him to look at you and be thinking in the back of his head, I'm still not really fully comfortable running out, out of this play action. I'm not really fully comfortable breaking the huddle and coming up here and changing the play or what. Get him ready. And I think that's what this offseason program was heavily focused on. So again, don't buy too much into the stat trackers and all that stuff. And whenever those kind of things start coming out, because they're going to do the stat trackers during training camp, pay a little more attention to those. But here in the spring practices, I wouldn't put too much stock into what, Shedeur did, or too much stock into some of the bad numbers or stats or completion percentages from the other guys or whatever, because again, it's just OTAs and minicamp. They're just working on things. They're trying to get everybody up to speed, but training camp is where the intensity is going to ramp up big time, and that's where things are really going to matter. So how things progress from here to there, that's going to tell the story for me. So, let me know what you guys think again in the comments. If you've got questions, if you've got, just a take that you want us to read on the show and kind of react to, head to thedawgspodcast.com, drop us a voicemail, drop us a message. It'll come straight to our inbox. We'll read it on the show. We'll play your voicemail on the show tomorrow, and we will go over all of these things. Today I really wanted to get into this quarterback competition, specifically the rookies and everything like that between Shedeur and Gabriel, because again, is Gabriel ahead of Shedeur? On the projected perceived depth chart at the moment, you have to say yes, because he's taking reps with the first team. Shedeur is not. He's taking all his reps with the second and third and fourth, the lower squads. He is not going against the first team defense. He's not out there throwing to Jerry Jeudy on these team drills and all that kind of stuff yet. So yes, I think to answer that question, yeah, you'd have to say that Gabriel is ahead of Shedeur. I'm telling you guys right now, I do think that for over the next 5 weeks, things could change drastically, because I think the way Shedeur has progressed, especially like Mary Kay detailed in her article, I think that there's a real possibility he comes into training camp leaps and bounds ahead of where he left off, and he could already be positioning himself against those guys ahead of him. So hit us up, get your stuff on the show tomorrow night when we do our listener mailbag segment. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Again, head to jointhedawgs.com if you want to join a fantasy league, play fantasy football with us here this season. And again, leagues are filling up, and we got to make a cutoff at some point in August. We set it for August 22nd, but if we got leagues filled up, it's an even number and all that kind of stuff. A week early, we're just going to have to cut it off when we cut it off. So get in now if you're interested. Don't waste any time. You get access to the private Discord, have the conversations, talk with other diehard Browns fans all summer long, because There ain't nothing better to do than talking Browns football. So again, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there. You guys rock, holding down the fort with these young Browns fans that you're raising. Do them up right, get them ready to go for training camp and the season. We'll talk to you guys on the live show tomorrow night. Let's go Browns.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Dawgs Podcast. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Twitter at the Dawgs Podcast. Get your thoughts on the show at thedawgspodcast.com.
This episode is sponsored by Manly Bands. Guys, is your wedding band old, outdated, or just not the same taste you had when you were younger? Or hey, maybe you're about to get married, but you don't want to deal with the salespeople at the jewelry stores. Manly Bands has the best wedding bands made specifically for men. They have the classic timeless gold and white gold styles, but they also have rings made from platinum, black zirconium, tungsten, titanium, even materials like meteorite and dinosaur bone. Yes, your wedding ring could be made from a dinosaur fossil. That is a real thing. They also have different ring collections, like their Jack Daniels rings made from actual Jack Daniels whiskey barrels. They also have Lord of the Rings and DC Comics band collections. Head over to manlybands.com/dogs and take advantage of their 30% off sale with free shipping. Plus, use promo code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out for another 10% off your order. Now, every Manly Band comes with a free silicone ring, and if you don't know your ring size, that's okay. You can order a free ring size chart from Manly Bands to make sure that you know exactly the right size before you order. And then if you get your ring and it doesn't fit just right, you can always return it or exchange it without any hassle. And I know this because I like my rings to be a little more loose, and the first band that I got was just a little too snug for the way I like to wear it, so I exchanged it, and the whole process was quick, easy, and I had my new ring in no time. And now, Manly Bands is even accessorizing men beyond just your wedding rings with their chain necklaces and chain bracelets made for men by men. And if you need groomsmen gifts or anything else, Manly Bands has you covered with their barware, whiskey glasses, flasks. They even have customized coasters and flight trays. So skip the jewelry stores, avoid the salespeople, and get a wedding band that was designed for you. Manlybands.com/dogs to get 30% off, free shipping, plus get an extra 10% off when you use code DAWGS, DAWGS, when you check out.